we want to experience as much self-love as possible. And the reasons for that are manyfold because self-love is the foundation of our capacity to love everyone and everything around us. Because in a very fundamental sense, everyone and everything around us is just a mirror reflection or an aspect of our true self. So self-love, it's not a trite saying, it's not like a truism, it's actually true. Self-love is the foundation of love in our experience. And so whenever there's an aspect or a part of our experience that we are not loving, that bleeds out into literally everything and impacts every relationship with all of the people that we love. So I'll give an example. Let's say someone is struggling with um, addiction to alcohol, cigarettes, cannabis, whatever, and they actually say to themselves, "I hate that I do this. I hate that I do this. Why do I keep doing this? I hate that I do this." So with that example, just just look and see that that person isn't expressing self-love in that particular domain. They might say to themselves simultaneously, I love my body, I love my wife, I love uh, I love my spiritual practice, I love X, Y, and Z about my experience, but this drinking thing, I hate that about myself. I hate that. So they're internalizing that energy of hate. They're internalizing that not love frequency. And they're binding that into their experience by judging themselves, by judging this aspect of themselves. And ultimately, what seems to be universally true, I'm open to there being exceptions to this, but as a rule of thumb, is that anytime that we're doing something that seems out of alignment, seems out of integrity, and we don't know why we're doing it, there's usually some part or aspect of ourselves that believes that that behavior is either a way to receive love or a way to stay safe. So paradoxically, the thing about yourself, the thing in your experience that you don't love, is actually a twisted strategy to get love or to be safe. And what's the purpose of being safe? Well, so that you can express the love and the awareness and the consciousness that you are. So ultimately, everything ties back in to love. So when we're not loving an aspect of ourself, that aspect actually just wants to be loved. No matter how much of a what's it called? A adversarial relationship you create with the experience. Let's use something aside from drinking. Why do I eat? Why do I eat food to comfort myself? I don't like that I do that. I don't love that I do that for sure. I don't even like that I do that. Or why is it that I keep attracting these terrible romantic partners? I don't love that about myself. Why is there some part of me that feels afraid to speak my truth? I don't love that. I dislike that about myself. Well, every single one of these examples necessitates an experience of non-love, an experience of adversarial consciousness within oneself. The only enemy is the enemy that you create within yourself. There is no external enemy out there waiting to get you. Everything in the external is just a reflection, a mirror of the internal. So the question then becomes, if there are all these aspects of ourselves that we're not fully loving, what's the consequence? What's the consequence of that? Well, in some fundamental sense, all is one within you. So when you're not loving that single aspect of yourself, you're not loving the totality of your being. And that self-directed frustration, fear, anger, sadness is going to bleed out into every aspect of life if it's not addressed. And it'll come out sideways in ways in which you're not fully consciously aware of unless you're really, really careful in how you manage your attention. So the one who says, "Well, I love everything about my life except for my eating. I wish that I had a cleaner diet. I don't love the way that I eat, but I just feel stuck." That one also feels stuck in a very subtle way, maybe that's less perceptible in their relationships. They also feel stuck in their career trajectory. They also might not feel safe charging more for their services. And the same underlying paradigms that cause us to judge this aspect of ourselves causes negative repercussions in multiple other aspects of life. So let's get into what's the solution? How do I avoid this unnecessary suffering that comes with not fully loving and accepting myself exactly as I am? And this is a work in progress. I don't claim to be the paragon of perfection for this paradigm that I'm presenting, but if you just listen, you'll see that everyone is on a progression when it comes to self-love. And it's an ongoing journey of self-discovery and self-mastery to discover these aspects of ourselves that we haven't yet loved and integrated into wholeness, and to continuously find the deeper and deeper parts and deeper aspects and paradigms to love them back into wholeness. And as we do so, life gets better and better and better. So something that you can use to discover a part of your life that you don't love is using a belief prompt. Something I don't love about myself is my inability to follow through, the fact that I people please, the unwillingness I have to actually stick to the plan, my procrastination pattern. Something I don't love about myself is. And underneath that, something I'm terrified to admit is. And underneath that, something I'm terrified to admit is. When your mind spontaneously finishes these incomplete prompts, it'll just fill in the blanks with whatever it is that you believe. So something I don't love about myself is, and something that I'm terrified to admit underneath that is, and you may be surprised at whatever comes up. Terrified to admit underneath that I feel like a fraud. So something I don't like about myself is that I don't have enough clients. And something I'm terrified to admit is that I feel like I'm not capable of doing more. So if that comes up, that paradigm of I am not capable of doing more, or just I am not capable, or just I can't do it, or just I am not enough, that underlying paradigm is what's causing you to not love this aspect of yourself. Another approach that you can use is to talk to the part of yourself that you don't love directly. So let's imagine for a moment that there's a part of you that might want to seek comfort and safety instead of being big, speaking your truth, putting yourself out there, making bold asks, doing the things that you know can lead to great results. Instead of all that, it wants to stay safe and it wants to stay small. And you go, I don't like that. I don't like that part of me. That part of me sucks and is weak, and I judge it as small and stupid. Okay, that's fine. You're free to judge that part of you. You can totally judge that part all that you want. And the more that you judge that part, the more that you're cutting yourself off from self-love, and the more that you're infecting your reality with fear. And that fear will bleed through so many aspects of your experience like a poison that it's almost hard to imagine. So I don't recommend that. I recommend instead welcoming the part of you that's holding on to the paradigm that you prefer not to have, welcoming that part of you with love and curiosity and compassion. Because when you're in a state of pure non-judgment and there's genuine curiosity, there's genuine compassion, something really magical happens. That part of you actually feels safe to open up and explore and express what's going on within its reality, its paradigm, its belief system that is causing it to have desires that don't align with your present intentions. So that part of you has a desire, a deep-seated desire to stay safe and small, and that desire is likely informed by some fear that it's holding on to. It might have a fear that I'll never be good enough. It might have a fear I'll never be able to get what I want. It might have a fear I don't deserve it. And so that fear creates that desire for that part of you to stay small. And instead of judging that part, you become open and welcoming and curious towards it, and you invite it into a conversation where you ask it simple questions like, "How old are you? What do you actually want?" "I want to stay safe. I'm 5 years old. I want to stay small. I just want to play. I don't want to do anything." "Oh, well, that's beautiful. What do you truly value? Comfort, safety, security, play, fun." Amazing. So what if instead of judging and hating the part that wants to stay safe and have fun, we welcome the part that wants to stay safe and have fun? And then we asked it, what are you believing part that makes being safe and having fun so difficult? You go, wow, yeah, thanks for asking. I guess I believe that I'm utterly worthless. And I don't like that belief. It makes me want to stay small. Holy shit, I'm utterly worthless. I'm so glad that we found that out because that is a belief that part would actually probably be open to letting go. So if you talk to the part and you discover what it's aware of and what it's holding on to that no longer serves a benevolent, positive purpose in your life, you can work with that part to become open to letting go of the core beliefs, the identity structure that is causing it to cause you unnecessary suffering. See, unnecessary suffering doesn't actually come from the part. It doesn't come from the beliefs themselves necessarily. It comes from our relationship to the different aspects within our consciousness. So if we're believing I don't deserve love because a part of us feels that, well, it's not just that I don't deserve love, it's that I'll never be good enough for my dad's love. Oh, okay. That's where that really stems from. And that started when you were like 3, didn't it? Yep. Okay. Wow. That's deep. That's old. That doesn't have to intrinsically cause suffering once that part's been loved back into oneness, once that part has been loved back into integration. But it'll cause the experience of continuous suffering so long as that part is in the shadow and unintegrated and outside of your conscious awareness. So long as that part is operating through those programs, you're going to have other programs that you create and other parts that come online that try to rebel and push away against that. I need to be the high achiever. I need to be the top performer. I need to always be doing more. I'm never doing enough. I should be doing more. All as a strategy to believe that you're worthy and deserving and good enough for your dad's love, all doomed to fail from the very beginning because you have a polarized identity within yourself, the one who believes that you're not worthy and don't deserve, and the one who believes that you must achieve and create and produce and do to be worthy and deserved. So you can see how when these conflicting paradigms exist within the psyche, you're doomed to failure. You're doomed to suffering. So when we excavate the core paradigms that these parts are holding on to, that up until now we've been judging. I don't like that part of me. I don't want that part in my life. I don't like that part. Instead, we get curious, we get compassionate, we welcome that part with love and curiosity, and we ask it, what are the beliefs and paradigms that you're holding on to that cause you the most suffering? What would you really truly love to let go of? You treat that part like a friend instead of like an adversary. You treat that aspect of yourself like it has wisdom to share with you and that you're open and curious to receive its wisdom and build a relationship and start an open, honest conversation with it. It'll share nuggets of gold that you previously couldn't even imagine were living inside of your psyche. These parts have access to experiences that you may have forgotten. These parts have access to wisdom that up until now you couldn't remember. And when you get open and curious and you just ask it directly, what are you holding on to that you'd like to let go of? Oh, fear, doubt, shame. I don't want to hold on to that. I've been holding on to that since I was 5. Can we let that go? It's like, yeah, you really can. Do you want to get started? Do you want to let that go? Yeah, I do. suddenly that part's on your side. The part that you were demonizing, the part that you were judging and kicking into obscurity within the back of your subconscious mind so that you could pretend that you have the ability to mask it with a different identity, an alter ego, when really the core part of you that has been running the show the entire time just keeps running the show, and you keep hitting your head against the glass ceiling that's self-imposed instead of just getting curious. Oh shit, there's a ceiling here. I wonder what part of me put that there. I wonder if I can love that part of me back into wholeness. I wonder if I get open and curious towards that part, if we can start a relationship and have a dialogue with I wonder if that's possible. And the answer is yeah, it's possible, but you have to choose it. So none of this happens if you don't choose. You have to choose to actually do the internal exploration. You have to choose to talk to yourself and actually be genuinely curious. You can't fake it because you know when you're lying to yourself. You know the difference between genuine curiosity and feigned curiosity. And you have to genuinely want to build a relationship with that part of you. And when you do, you'll discover that you experience more self love innately and more self respect. Because to respect is derived from the Latin respectus, which literally means to look back at one again. So self respect is to look back at oneself again. So self respect is literally an act of introspection. So the more that you respect yourself, the more that you look back into yourself, the more that you love yourself. Go figure. Self love and self respect are integrally linked. That which you place your attention on appreciates, it grows. So when you look within yourself, you're giving yourself your attention. You're appreciating yourself just by virtue of self respecting. So self respect, self appreciation naturally lead to self love. And then we get to, of course, the application of a tool like the sovereign mind method to remove any disharmonious beliefs, any fear-based beliefs and definitions that no longer serve that part of you. So we've gone from this paradigm that we were living in, which is a self-imposed hell, which is I don't like this part of myself. I judge it. It's bad, it's wrong. I shouldn't be this way, and I'm bad and wrong for being this way. That's no longer how we operate. Instead, we choose openness, curiosity. We welcome the aspect of ourselves, even if it's something terrible, right? Even if it's, uh, I notice that I'm attracted to squirrels, or I notice that I visualize uh, hurting someone I really don't like, right? Things that society judge to be atrociously bad wrong, atrociously evil, immoral, bad wrong. Even those aspects of ourselves are seeking to be loved back into oneness, are seeking to be reintegrated into the true self. And doing so is just a choice. You can choose to hate yourself indefinitely, and you'll get the result of hating yourself, which is that fear and hate and anger and sadness and pain will bleed into every single imaginable aspect of your life and continuously reflect back to you until you make the choice to love that aspect of yourself. And then when you make the choice to love that aspect of yourself by becoming open and becoming curious, you'll start to see that this part actually has wisdom that it's been holding on to for a long time. That it's aware of the belief systems and the paradigms and the definitions that are causing your greatest pain and unnecessary suffering. And when you choose to let those beliefs and definitions go with the sovereign mind method or any permission slip that gives you the ability to delete beliefs, suddenly what you will notice as a result of going through that process of self respect, self appreciation, and self love is that more self love will follow. When that part of you is no longer holding on to the paradigm of, I don't deserve, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't work hard enough, I should be doing more, life is hard, there's something wrong with me, I can't do it, I'm all on my own, I'm lonely, I'm a loser. All of these things can be let go of in a matter of minutes when you use the right tool, the right permission slip to get the result of freeing yourself from those beliefs, those paradigms, and those definitions that no longer serve you. self-love naturally ensues. Your heart becomes more open. You become less guarded mentally, emotionally. The quality of your eyes physically change in a way that's perceptible to anyone who's awake and capable of seeing energy. The quality of your aura, the energy electromagnetically that surrounds your body, will change in vibration. And people who are capable of sensing energy will be able to sense that your vibration is higher, so to speak. So you can look and see just as a possibility that if you no longer had any part of you that you judged negatively, you no longer had any aspect of your experience that you believed shouldn't be there, that you believed was wrong, that you believed wasn't right. Those just weren't beliefs. Those just weren't judgments. Those just weren't misperceptions rooted in fear that you were experiencing because you just mistakenly took on those beliefs once upon a time. If instead you had openness and curiosity, you can look and you can see what that would do for your overall health, well-being, net level of positive experience and wellness and ease in your life. Because when you're not battling the aspect of yourself that up until now you had been judging, you're free to perceive and experience reality in a much more peaceful way, in a much more easeful way. There's no longer an internal battle that's constantly raging on, vying for your attention. Every time that you try to focus your attention on creating the life that you want, instead of getting hooked back into a self-defeating dialogue, a self-defeating train of negative thoughts, feeling uncomfortable emotions inside of the body, none of that happens anymore. There's just presence, there's just breath, there's just the eternal I am. The more that you unify these parts and let go of these beliefs, the more present you experience your reality. The more present you experience your reality, by definition, the less identified you are with things that are actually misidentifications. Anything that you identify with beyond the infinite, eternal, creator, all being is not actually what you are. You're not the town that you grew up in. You're not your favorite sports team. You're not uh, a pansexual. You're not gender fluid. You're not um, Italian. You're not you're not any of these things. These are just definitions. These are just concepts and words that the ego mind identifies with. And through this misidentification process, we create hundreds and thousands of different interlocking definitions, beliefs, and identities that prevent us from seeing the truth. The truth is that everything in the universe is just energy. It's just an expression of love from the infinite, eternal being creator. And that we are that. There is no separation. We are the exact same thing as the infinite, eternal creator. You could say that we're a divine spark, a fractal of God. And you could say that in a universe where all is one, the fractal is the same thing as the origin. And so the point being that we don't have to go through this process. We don't have to change anything about ourselves if we don't want to. If we want to continue down the path of needless self-inflicted pain, we can choose that. Everyone has the right to choose that. Or we also have the right and the ability as the infinite creator to choose to look at the aspect of ourself that up until now we've been judging and reintegrate that part in love back into oneness within ourselves. The way that you do that, once again, is get curious towards that part, seek to understand what it's believing, what it's misidentified with, that's causing its pain and suffering, that's causing it to misperceive and live inside of fear. And then through letting go of those beliefs, letting go of those identities, letting go of those definitions, that part automatically is reintegrated back into your true self. There's no additional work that's required. You don't have to go through years of internal family systems therapy like I did in order to achieve that result if you approach it more strategically by actually approaching the beliefs and the definitions. So that's the ultimate secret, right? Is approach the belief system, approach the definitions, approach the identity structure. And when you focus your attention on clearing out the beliefs and definitions and identity structure, that's where you get the greatest results in the shortest amount of time. So one last recap before we open it up for any potential Q&A is that when there's an aspect of your experience that you don't like, that you don't want to keep having, you feel that sense of frustration or sadness or fear. Why does this keep happening? How do I have to just stop and breathe? Reconnect yourself into the present moment. And then welcome that aspect of yourself. I fully welcome and accept this fear into my awareness. Hello, fear. Thank you for being here. How old are you? I'm 6. Fuck off. I don't like you either. Right? It's like you might have like a combative aspect of yourself inside of your psyche. Believe me, I've seen and heard it all. Um, thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for telling me that. I love you. You're free to say and speak and feel everything. I won't judge you. I love you. I'm here. What is it that is most important for me to know? That you fucked everything up and you're bad. Oh, thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, little one. I can really truly see that you're feeling some frustration and probably some sadness underneath that. Is that right? And suddenly that part, after receiving your empathy, softens and goes, yeah, I'm just really scared. You know, oh, thank you, little one. Thank you. I love you. Scared of what? It feels like nothing I do is ever enough. Oh, okay. So when you listen closely to that part of you, it'll reveal exactly what you're believing. Exactly what you're believing. You may not have been consciously aware of that spell, nothing I do is ever enough. But once you get to that part of you that is believing that, and you get really loving and really curious, and you really ask sincerely, give it empathy, it can't help but show you the next layer within your belief system that is ready to be transcended for your highest and greatest good. The path of self-realization is a path of self-respect. It's a path of self-appreciation. The more attention that you focus on yourself and this aspect of yourself, the more that love will blossom within that region of your consciousness. And the more love that flows in there, it can't sustain an energy of fear. It can't sustain and cooperate and coexist harmoniously with anger and sadness. And so that anger and that sadness and that fear will come to the surface no matter what. And every time it does, it's an invitation for you to respect yourself enough to look at the origin of that and discover what you're believing that's causing that in the first place. Because you can't experience fear, anger, and sadness without experiencing a belief. You can't experience those negative emotions without meaning being present in your experience. You can't experience fear, anger, and sadness without believing something. So every time that you have that negative experience that you don't want, you're just experiencing something that you believe that's ready to be let go of, that's actually asking you, it's hooking your attention and guiding and directing your attention directly into the structure that you created once upon a time so that you could liberate yourself from it now. And the question is, will you choose to love that aspect of yourself back into oneness? Because if not, you can go right back on the hamster wheel. You can do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And that belief won't go anywhere. It's been there for 20 something years, 30 something years, 40 something years, 50 something years. It'll be there tomorrow. It'll be there next year. It'll be there next decade. It's a semi-permanent structure. You've identified with it. You believe that it's who you are. But it's not. It's a misidentification. It's a misbelief. It's a misperception. You have exactly as much free will over your hand as you do your belief system. Exact same. You've been gripping, gripping, gripping. And notice, if I don't have the intention to let go, this is how my fist stays. I'm gripping, 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 still gripping onto that belief until I intend that I let go. And then when I let go, I let go. And now it's gone. My hand isn't tight anymore. It's not gripping it anymore. Wow. Look at that. So the question becomes, will you choose to love that aspect of yourself back into wholeness, back into oneness? Will you choose to explore the root cause beliefs that that part is holding on to that's causing your unnecessary pain and suffering? And will you choose to let those beliefs go? Because you can always keep them. You can always deny yourself the self-respect. You can always deny yourself self-appreciation. You can keep living in denial and living in ignorance. Notice ignorance, to ignore. You can continue choosing that. But it's not what I recommend. There's way better results. There's way more positivity. There's way more happiness that lives on the side of actually choosing to explore these paradigms and systems within yourself. So my sincere invitation is, yeah, look at the part of you. Look at that aspect that you up until now haven't been fully loving. And invite a dialogue with it. And just see what comes up when you ask it some open-ended, loving, curious questions like, hey man, how old are you? What do you love? What do you hate? What beliefs and paradigms cause you the most pain? Would you like to let those go? Okay, cool. Let's let them go. And you can use the sovereign mind method or whatever permission slip you want to delete those beliefs and just watch what happens in your life. Watch what happens when that aspect of you is no longer encumbered by a misidentification, by mistakenly believing something as silly as the idea that there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The entire universe is flowing in an infinitely complex symphony of perfection at all times. There's never a single thing wrong in the entire universe. Wrong is just a judgment. It's just a word. It's a definition. And so is right. Anything that lives in polarity doesn't actually exist outside of the mind. And the more adept you become at managing and owning your belief systems, the more that you'll actually see that polarity in and of itself is an effect of the mind. It doesn't actually exist intrinsic to the universe, but that's a topic for another day. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you appreciating yourself. I appreciate you loving yourself. And I think I'll wrap up on this note of every belief is a choice. You have exactly as much free will over your beliefs as you do your hand. And you've been gripping, 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 and just will you choose to let go? Choice is yours. Right. So with that, if there's any questions, reflections, we'll open that up.